In November 2017, the military in Zimbabwe forced out long-serving President Robert Mugabe. The country is now preparing for elections, with the military men in all the key positions. Rights activist Brian Raftopolous says the regime's past record must not be forgotten.
Well, we're talking about the massacres in the mid-1980s in Matabele and the Midlands, known as the Gukuraunde massacres, where a special unit of the army, the 5th Brigade, carried out massive atrocities to obliterate a party, but also carried out in certain kinds of ethnic terms, and around which there's been no serious justice issues have been raised by the state or dealt with. There's been no proper commission, or open commission, which has dealt with it. There was a commission which was done around that period, but it's never been made public. So we've never had any proper public hearings around what has happened. Then, of course, there's the violence of the 2000s throughout the country, not just Matabeleland, particularly the Mashonaland areas, where again there were killings, disappearances, beatings, displacement, and this issue also, the legacies of that have not been dealt with. So there's long periods and long episodes of state violence which have not been dealt with publicly in the politics of the country.
And now in the run-up to the elections, you say that this is a weakness in the present government.
It is, because it's clearly one where Mnangagwa has been most defensive about responding to, particularly Gukuraunde, and recently he said the 2008 elections were free and fair, completely ridiculous in the face of massive evidence, including the response of SADC and the AU, which refused to recognize that election, and then we went into the GNU. So it's clearly a vulnerable area for this government because they're so complicit and embedded in the violence that took place. And it's an area that the civics are most able to carry out advocacy around because they've been doing it for nearly 2 decades. They have lots of information around what happened. They've carried out massive advocacy at national, regional, and international level. And they have the kind of capacity to put those issues very squarely on the national agenda.
And should a country like Norway engage with the present government?
Look, I think like many governments, they should talk to this government, but ensure that the primary issues around a proper, free, fair election with all the conditions that have been on the agenda since the 2000s are in place, and to ensure that their future engagement is dependent on the manner in which this legitimacy of this coup is brought to some kind of accountability through an election, a properly held, properly supervised, properly monitored election, which is again monitored not just by nationals, but regionals and internationals, in order to ensure that the proper electoral reforms and processes are put in place.